Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, July the 21st, 2017. It will be Mr. Black and I carrying the intro to this while our typical weekly conundrums continue. This time, a last second USB issue for Panic. Of all things, a USB issue. Go fucking figure. But it's like, make your audio simpler. I can't. It's the USB cable. You can't get any more straightforward. Oh well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Technical Alpha podcast. Despite it being a almost sort of slow week for game news this week, I can say that the movie and TV side certainly didn't slow down. Holy shit! Just about the entire world blew up this week. So we've got lots of stuff to talk about regardless. Woo-loo-loo. There we go. Press buttons and things happen. We have lots of stuff to talk about on one or the other half of this. You know what, Mr. Black? Let me inform you of something amazing real quick here. Right off the rip. I'm streaming last night. I'm finally playing Persona 5. It's one of the greatest things I've been able to do in forever. But somebody in chat says Adam, loving Technical Alpha, think it's fucking fantastic. I had a crazy idea. Said, what was your crazy idea? He said, you don't, I hope this is not too forward. He actually said that. I was like, all right, it's okay, bro. I'm not going to bite your head off. It's okay. It's like, I hope not too forward. But what if you called the two sections Side A and Side B? Because we're already using a tape deck as the freaking logo.
I got that.
Side A and Side B. I was like, oh,
I like
shit.
It. I like it.
Oh, I might have to use that. He was like, it's all yours. It's like, oh.
Someone send this man a sticker.
He's in chat right now. Gen Zero, there you go. Yes.
Someone send this man a sticker. Oh, that's my man,
He needs
Jin.
a sticker for that.
Yes,
he needs a sticker for that.
Oh, shit.
Absolutely.
What up, Jin? There we go. That's what's up.
Oh, my God. I was like, yes, please. Let's do that. And so, before I forget, it's probably going to be forgotten, but I'll try my best. Side A and Side B. For sure. Mr. Black, you've had a hell of a week. I don't want to take up the first full hour because I know you're capable, but in 45 seconds or less, what's the general lowdown in the world of automobiles in the Black household?
Well, for those that don't know, I had taken delivery of my AMG C63S Coupe 2018. Turns out they accidentally released the vehicle to me. There was a mix-up somewhere, either at the dealership or the port, and I'm really simplifying this right now. And they wanted my car back. And, well, I didn't want to give my car back because I had all kinds of plans. And, after 4 days of nonstop going back and forth down at the dealership, finally I made a video explaining my frustrations with the customer service and just the crappy scenario that I was put in. And the vice president of Mercedes Canada called me, and we settled everything. And it was the type what he did in terms of the way he approached it, and he looked at it as if it was his vehicle and it was in his position. He did it perfectly. I mean, it was what I was expecting to get from either the dealership or somebody in Ontario or something like that. But it all got solved. It was a busy week. It made headlines. It made car magazines. It was front page Reddit. It was the #1 thing on Reddit under cars for a while. Had a lot of people that were for me, and then I had a lot of salty people that were complaining that, a guy buys a really expensive car and he can't drive it for a month or two. Boo-hoo. First world problems. Fuck you, buddy. I think I even heard someone say, kill yourself and fuck your wife or some shit. I don't know. So,
what,
people were getting really...
order?
I know the fuck your wife was at the end, but I don't know how that would be possible. But either way,
pretty awkward.
It would be awkward. But everything is cool. I picked up a loaner vehicle and dropped my car off back at the dealership. So right now I'm driving a 2017 AMG SL63, which is Mercedes' most luxurious cruiser. It's a $200,000 car, and it is absolutely amazing. What's nice about it is it's different than my car. They're not in the same class. They're not the same type of beast. So I thought for a little while, and still to an extent, I was going to get into this car, and then when I get back into my car, not like my car as much, but they're so different. The only thing that I wish my car had that this car has is the seats. The seats in this car are absolutely the most comfortable thing I've ever sat in. They massage you when you're going around corners. The sides of the chairs and your lumbar all tightens up to keep you in the same position no matter how you're slanted and stuff. It's just amazing, the technology. I thought my car was like, crazy in terms of being luxurious. This is like driving a private jet. It's pretty damn cool. So and of course, it's a convertible as well. It's a hard top. So I'll be able to enjoy the rest of the summer in that. And I got my fingers crossed that my car will be regulated sooner than later. But if not, at least I have this beautiful car. If you guys want to hear more, you can go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/MaximusBlack. There are several videos out about it. They are heavily viewed, and a lot of people are talking about it. And it's at the very least, it's been a good exposure for my kickoff doing car stuff. So I guess there was that good that came out of it.
Well, there you go. It's been it's been a ride, so to speak, for sure. And I just watching it all from the sidelines has been such a gong show. The whole thing, top to bottom. So I'm glad there has been resolution. I'm glad that it has come to a close. Picnic, you've managed to get your microphone back, so that's good. Welcome back,
I don't
sir.
know. All my USB ports just turned off for some reason. It's never happened on this
That's
PC
problematic.
Before. Yeah.
USB ports are mildly useful on a computer. So it's good. It's good that you found a working one. How was your week, sir? Anything new and exciting in your world?
I've got the full audio stuff all set up. Everything's working perfectly, other than my USB ports, apparently. Yeah, it's been a relatively long week at work. Looking forward to having a weekend off filled with family events. But other than that, it should be a pretty good weekend. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
I was following along Jeff's shenanigans over the week. Kept me mildly entertained.
It was a long week, brother. I think, what is it? It's the 21st. I think I may have been on the stream. I think I may have streamed like fucking 7 times this month. It has literally consumed my life. Like, first it was getting the car and absolutely loving it and like going out and enjoying it and driving it in the morning and then late at night and getting some stuff done. But between like Las Vegas and then coming home and then getting the car and then all this going down, man, it has not been the most productive last week for me in terms of like workload. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do. It's gonna be some long days, long nights for the rest of the month, but it's all good. I mean, first world problems, right?
This is definitely a first world problem. I mean, that has got to be fucking top 5 first world problems. Shit, I had to trade in my $100,000 car for a month to drive a $200,000 car for a month. In the process, fuck. Oh God, I don't know how I'm gonna make it for the rest of the week. It's just gonna be hard. We're gonna have to scrape by. Speaking of hard and scraping by, the news in gaming this week has been brutal.
I got some shit that I can add this week, bro. I got some tech shit I can add this week.
You have tech shit.
I got tech
you
shit.
Have tech shit.
It's sponsored, but I got some tech shit.
Oh God.
No.
It's shameless,
oh my
but
God.
I'm not getting paid.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
ask.
getting. All right.
Did you got one of those? You got one of those ass hats, didn't you?
Yeah.
I swear to God. Oh no, here
So-
we go. What is it?
All right.
Oh,
So
boy.
this is Atari's new line of audio hats. So basically,
Okay.
it is like I'm not getting paid to shout it out here on Technical Alpha, but since it is a tech thing and I have used it, I will talk about it. So honestly, man, one of my agents said, hey, there's an opportunity here. Atari is about to release these hats. You do a lot of retro stuff, and it just, it's a perfect match. Honestly, when he told me about this thing, I was like, well, of course, it's Atari. I'll give it a shot. I mean, I like the brand. But when I was told that this hat, for example, it's really big right now because I don't have it all tightened up in the back, but I look a little goofy right now. But so this hat, for those that are just listening audio-wise, it looks like a normal hat, okay? The beak is a little thicker than normal, but it looks like a regular hat. But what this does is if you look up underneath,
Oh
you
God.
you see those speakers up there? So here's the cool thing about it. They sent me it. They said, you're one of the first to receive it in the world. There's like a select number of influencers and stuff that they're sending these things out to. And I don't know what kind of media or whatever. But what you can do with this thing, now listen to this. So I don't want to copyright us here, but let me just go with, I don't know, we'll go with this here. So I don't know if you can hear this right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So what it does is it's got Bluetooth and you can listen to your music with your hat on. I was expecting this, honest to God, dude. Like there's certain things like opportunities that come up where I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to like this. I put it on and I'm blown away by the sound quality. I mean, it's hard to do that like through a microphone and then through the internets and stuff. But when you have it on your head, you can really hear the music so well. There's a decent amount of bass. It sounds great. I loved it for my audiobooks. So I was just kind of driving in my car and I just had an audiobook playing and it's just loud enough that I can hear it and the people around me can barely hear anything, or it's just kind of to myself. And then also there's headphones here, and there is a headphone jack that you can plug in, and it just kind of comes down. They're not very long, so you can't really see them all that well, which is good. So they're kind of hidden. So you can either use your earbuds or the hat itself. And then apparently there's a lot of other capabilities that this thing can do that they haven't even announced yet. So they're going to be announcing a bunch of things this weekend and in the weeks to come. And there's more features to the hat that hasn't even been announced that we don't even know about. So as of right now, I'm just using it as a music player and mainly for my audiobooks. It's great. I love it. It sounds good.
Jeff,
it's great.
What happens when you get
real-
caught in the rain?
Well, I actually shot that message. I put a post on Instagram and I showed it off, and one guy said, "Is it waterproof?" And so I messaged my rep to ask what kind of the things are for water. Obviously, I don't think you're going to be able to go into a pool with it or something. Like, why would you have your hat in a pool? But I would imagine, rain-wise, it would totally be fine. The speakers are underneath the visor, and also the tech stuff, like where the Bluetooth and everything plugs in. It plugs in like via USB. I think it's a micro USB where you can charge it, stuff like that. That's all tucked up underneath, and it's very well protected, like super well protected. So I couldn't see water actually getting into the electrical wires and shit like that. So and you wouldn't even know, honestly, man. Like if I was just chilling and walking down the street, you would not know that this was a speaker hat. It looks like a regular hat. Obviously, if I'm up like that, you can kind of you can take notice.
You would have no idea that it was a speaker hat until you were playing music on your speaker hat, and then it would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's cool. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this specific model of it in terms of like color and stuff.
The black on black.
The black on black.
Black.
I mean, you know, it looks good on me and stuff. Like I gotta change the stuff, like the tighten it and shit. But overall, man, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna wait. I'm actually gonna ask them if they'll send me a different one, like another. See what colors they have, because I know they have multiple different colors and then different designs and stuff. But in terms of testing the tech, this is great.
So what? I guess my immediate question is, if this is what I can't shake. Okay, you watch a lot of like the Dragon's Den and the Shark Tank. Okay,
Yeah.
You know what this screams to me? This screams to me that there was like a 50-something-year-old man that's like an avid inventor in his basement, and he's been down there forever, and he's been trying to figure out why kids love Lucky Charms. And then all of a sudden, the idea came, you know, why would we wear earbuds when we could have speakers on the brim of our hat? And then you brought that in front of investors, and somebody actually bit on that. I get conceptually, and it probably does sound relatively well, because honestly, the speakers are probably not just under the brim, but they're probably also cantered towards your face. Your eyeballs are soaking in all of that HD sound.
Definitely is. Sorry to cut you off, but like even when I have the hat on the desk or on my dresser, like last night I was listening to a book and I just had it on my dresser, not even on my head, and you can hear it perfectly fine. It's just like playing like a little speaker or something like that. So it's great. You know, is it going to be for everybody? Absolutely not. But the thought of just having your hat, and if you're walking down a trail and you don't want to have little earbuds in that fall out or whatever, if you're just walking around, I can really see this being a cool thing for skateboarders and shit. Like if they're on their skateboard at the park and they have their own little music playing, and you know they're doing their thing. I think it's a really cool thing. And funny enough, when I used to work construction, I always told my dad, because we had to wear, obviously we had to wear hard hats on every job. If you weren't wearing a hard hat, you're getting off the job. You're getting fired, or you're a liability. So I always had this this idea, because my dad used to play this old 80s rock and stuff, and these oldies music, and every area that you're kind of in on every floor. So if we were on a building and building a condo or an apartment building, we'd be in one or two units, gyp rocking and steel studding and stuff. And then we would be playing their own music. And then like 2 units down, there'd be another crew. They'd be playing their own music. I always had this idea of a hard hat that played its own music so that you could listen to your own music. Obviously you wouldn't be super loud, because also there is,
you have to be able to hear everything going around.
There's safety reasons for it. So obviously you'd have to regulate it to a certain level of volume,
or reasonable listening volume.
Exactly, but just so you can hear it yourself. And I always used to hate going into my pouch and trying to find a pencil to like write on the gyp rock for numbers and stuff. So I had a vision of, on your hard hat, having a place where you can just clip a pencil, like easy access for your pencil. I had like this hard hat idea.
Utility belt hat.
Exactly, where it's just kind of all there because you're wearing it all the time anyway. And it's so easy.
What would you call this hat, Jeff? What was the name in your head?
I had a name and I forget what it was. It had something to do with like helper or something. The helmet helper, or the I don't know what I had. It was some kind of helper.
This is like the shopping channel right now. I feel like I'm gonna have like somebody on the shopping channel selling me this shit for like a half-hour block.
Waiting for the infomercial. The infomercial.
So when I heard about this Atari hat, I instantly thought of the thing that I was thinking of many years ago, and I just like the idea of just having your own personal music or whatever playing, especially now that I'm heavy into audiobooks. It's great. It's good for me. It's like a niche thing. Not everybody's going to want to like sport an Atari hat that plays music, but I think in the right circumstances, it's a pretty cool invention.
I guess. I'm just trying to like, I'm just,
and I'm not just saying that because I'm getting paid. I'm honest
I get you.
to God, not like
I
if I didn't like it, I wouldn't even have brought it up here on the podcast. I would have done my obligations, and that would have been the show. But I really like it.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm just like, I'm trying to think of all the venues in which you could, that two things necessitate wearing a hat, or that you would want to wear a hat, and then would be acceptable to be playing your own music not out of headphones. So, like, if you're just, walking down a street and you're just playing your own music, have we just turned into, like, the 80s, 90s, you got a boom box on your shoulder and you're walking around the fucking, like, city, except now it's in your hat?
I've always envisioned, somebody that's out at the park, somebody that's, a skateboarder, somebody at the beach, just chilling, laying on the beach with their hat on, soaking up some rays, got their own personal music. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, and you can also substitute it for a speaker or whatever, like I did last night, just kind of listening to an audiobook that's just sitting there. And also, you don't need to, just because you're wearing the hat, doesn't mean you need to be listening to music. You can just kind of wear the hat as a fashion thing, because it is Atari, and you're repping the brand, but you just have that capability of playing music or even turning it into your own headphones. So you can plug headphones into it, and you just have to charge it like you would your phone or whatever.
So what you're telling me is this is great for porn.
Might be.
Adam's just going to be sitting at home all of a sudden just wearing a hat all the time.
Wearing a hat for no reason.
More can be done.
Mums are going to be walking into bedrooms and the son's going to be inside with a hat on. And they're going to be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Nothing, Mom. My head was cold. Well, no, it looks like it definitely has applications, and it's I will be interested to see how well it sells. Like, if they're actually going to put this up on a website and physically, be pushing this thing. I think
so. I think they're going
to. Then I'm interested, because it might be one of those things where it has to be.
It's not for you.
No, of course not. But I want but it's one of those things that, like, would probably have to be out there, and then somebody is going to figure out what exactly this is super useful for, and then it will all make sense. Yeah. It's like, before that, it just, for whatever reason, doesn't make sense, and then all of a sudden, everyone's got fidget spinners, right? It's just
honestly, man, I think it's just a cool factor. I think it's a conversational piece. I think it's cool.
Does it come with a sticker on the brim, though, Jeff?
No, there's no sticker on the brim. It didn't even come in a box.
See?
Like they just
they're missing the whole market now. They're missing the whole market.
Nothing. Yeah, you want to tap into the black community. You need the sticker.
Yeah, you gotta get that
tag
big ass
keep on there.
Yeah,
and you need pre-programmed future music and designer music and Kanye West. You can get a deal with Kanye. It's on like Donkey Kong.
It comes preloaded with 808s and heartbreak.
You got the Atari hat, the Ariana Grande cat headphone things that she branded onto. I was like, oh my god.
Oh boy.
So yeah, there
amazing.
it is. So
that's awesome.
There's my tech talk.
Well, hey, that's fantastic. I do. I kind of look forward to seeing what people end up inevitably, the applications for that thing, for sure. All the frat boys are salty, as somebody said in chat, because you can't wear that bitch backwards. You're not hearing shit. You put that thing on backwards, it's going to be the person behind you hearing all of it. So, but anyway, video game stop. I'm glad you talked about that, though, because there's a couple things here that are going to get combined, and some of the stuff isn't like super long talking points. The first thing we wanted to cover real quick is, and it will be real quick because I'm 99% sure none of us have actually played it, and that's the Destiny 2 beta.
Nope.
The Destiny it's on console only.
Yeah, for now anyway. I think they have a PC beta forthcoming. It's just not currently. But the general lowdown, I guess I can just go over it real quick, and if there's any added thoughts we can, and if not, then we'll move on. I just want to talk about it because it's a relatively big thing.
It happened.
Yeah, it happened. So the talking points that I keep seeing everywhere are a couple things. One, regardless of console, this bad boy's rocking 30 frames a second, locked in.
That's pretty.
That by itself. That by itself just hurts me a bit. There are genres in which 30 FPS, it's not the end of the world. It kind of just, it's there, and it's kind of bothersome, but it's not something that completely detracts from the experience or feels off. I feel like if there was one genre that at this point in time, like if this was years ago, maybe not so much, but at this point in time, if an FPS is not at 60 frames a second or higher, it feels weird. Like it feels really like sluggish and kind of like something's not quite right. So that was a weird, and I can understand why they did that. If they were trying to increase the graphic fidelity, but they have to make it work on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, PlayStation 4 Pro, and eventually the Xbox One X. They all are going to be playing, you know, between those individual consoles, they're going to be playing together online. So if you give, like, the PS4 Pro 60 FPS and the regular-ass PS4's got 30 FPS, there's a distinct advantage going towards the person with twice the frame rate, so they can't quite do it. It's just very weird. Like, other games have just reduced the graphical fidelity or the resolution to maintain a higher frame rate. I think that might have been a better choice here, just because it's an FPS. But the other talking point is that, before I hand it off, if you guys have any thoughts, is that it seems to be relatively divided. I've seen a lot of comments. I watched a bunch of streams, because I have a couple of people that I watched that are pretty hardcore into Destiny, and have played a lot of it in the past, the first game. And I'm either getting that they're super excited about it, because it's more Destiny for you know, better or worse, and then I've got people that are just like, this is just not all that hot. It doesn't feel like it's enough. However, the prevailing thing that I will say, the props for them, I guess, is that network-wise, everything seems to be okay right now. Nothing has exploded, which is, in this day and age, a miracle, because pretty much every multiplayer game that goes live these days explodes for the first, like, 6 weeks it launches. So they've managed to get that down, but it doesn't seem like it's anything special. I don't know if that's something that people should have expected or not, but yeah.
I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a Destiny 1.2 or 1.5. That's what I was expecting, and I think that's what we're getting, honestly.
It didn't look all that new. It looked like it's like pretty much like Brood War. For what was Brood War to StarCraft is what we're getting. It looks like they added some other stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah, the thing that struck me the most, because one of the things people are obviously have been talking a lot about, is the campaign aspect of this one. And there, you know, in the beta there is a campaign lead up, right? It's not all multiplayer. They have a campaign kind of like tidbit in there. And I watched somebody play through the entirety of that, and it was really bad. Like really bad. Bad not in terms of like it looked awful or anything. I mean, it's 30 FPS, but, you know, graphically at 30 FPS, whatever, it looked, you know, there's some flashy shit going on. But at the end of this demo, the dude standing over top of your, you know, voiceless character or whatever, or your character that has like the generic voice, and is like something about how you know, your kind has like forgotten, you know, what it is to fear death or some weird thing like that, and I'm gonna remind you. And then it was the, you know, hanging on the ledge, looking up, oh God, please no, type shit. And then he just like drops that cheesy one-liner.
The actual
drops that cheesy. Oh yeah, but then he drops a cheesy line and then just like boots you off like fucking Sparta, and then you just fall off. You're like, oh God, and it's like, you know, late title card, and it was so cheese. It was not all that hot. So I will wait and see more. Maybe when the PC thing comes around, I'll be more inclined to, like actually try it. Go. Yeah, I'm definitely trying. Because the PC is obviously 60 FPS, because the PC will be in its own environment. It won't be cross-platform, so they can allow it to, you know, operate at reasonable frame rates. So that will be interesting. And I want to say that beta was slated for not too long from now, maybe like within a month or so, I want to say.
I'm hearing August.
Yes, so we will have probably more on that, because I imagine all three of us might be digging into the PC version of it. So we'll probably have some more, things to talk about when that comes around. Moving on to the next thing. I don't know if this is going to shock anyone at this point, but hey, remember how Nintendo is doing all these little classic consoles, and they just keep you know, going on a roll? Nintendo filed for trademark that is leading people to believe that, shocker, we might get a Nintendo 64 Classic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's old enough for it yet.
Oh, I do.
Is well, I mean,
honestly,
it was what? It's 96,
honestly, I
right?
don't think it's so much a retro play. I think that this is more of a
Nostalgia play.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's, to me, playing the N64 is almost like playing the Super Nintendo. I'm playing it because I have nostalgia. That's the best way to put it. And I want to just play old classics because most games these days just do not feel classic anymore. So I think it's a great idea. I think I don't think they should go beyond that. Obviously, if they do like GameCube, that's too recent, I would say. But
I don't even think they could physically do that without costing too much.
Yeah, I think the N64 is great. And it's also still cart-based. It's not disc. It's still cart-based. And now we'll be able to get it non-cart-based, in a USB form. The games probably aren't that big in terms of file.
What games do you think they would put on the N64 Classic?
I think 007, Mario 64, probably Donkey Kong 64. I don't know. I mean, probably just a bunch of classics. Zelda would definitely be on there. Ocarina of Time would definitely go on there.
Jet Force Gemini, maybe.
Yeah, they would probably put that on there. Just a lot of
Harvest Moon.
It's possible.
Mario Kart.
Yeah. Oh, Mario 64.
Kart.
Mario Kart 64 for sure.
And Mario 64.
Star Fox.
I think that's like
Mario,
the easiest call is that Mario 64 would be on it.
Yeah.
No,
I like the idea.
there's a ton. I mean, the list for N64 is like
it's a solid list.
on infinite. Yeah, there's a lot they can draw from, and a lot of them are first party. I mean, really, most of the stuff that we just listed or would list, most people would list. Freaking got a mustache hair, keeps wanting to go up my nose. Is either first party or rare, which covers a huge chunk of what people would go back and refer to for Nintendo 64 classics. There are obviously games that lie outside of those two categories, but they're not perhaps as long as it would be with first party and rare. So it wouldn't shock me if this happens. I think it would have to cost more because to emulate the N64, now we're getting into territory where the processing power is definitely like orders of magnitude higher than like a Super Nintendo and certainly a Nintendo Entertainment System. So that's going to be fun to see how they pull it off. Controllers as well are a little bit more intricate than the previous controllers, and
yeah, that's going to be interesting how they recreate that.
So how far are they going to go to recreate it, and will they? See, here's what I learned when since the guys, some of the guys when they come over will still occasionally play GoldenEye and Mario Kart and all that shit, right? Mm-hmm. It got to the point, obviously, where it's very difficult to find an honest-to-goodness original N64 controller that's new. Like, and if you find it, you're paying like $100 for a fucking controller.
Well,
if it's not been
you can
touched.
Get yes, if you want to. I mean, $100. I mean, okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but
you
if
can probably get it for like 50, 60, can't you?
You can order generic ones. Now, if you want original Nintendo ones, that's going to cost you $40-50. To get a good stick. They come up all the time here locally where you can get them for like $20-25. But you can get third-party N64 controllers that work perfectly, and they're just a little cheaper. Like
they're still making them.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
You could go down to that last game store, and they have a bunch of them there.
Yeah,
that you can buy.
I
think they're like $20. $20.
Yeah, I have some of the third-party ones. They depending on the game that you're playing, they either work perfectly fine or it's a nightmare. And unfortunately, the two games that I've played in which anything but an original controller doesn't fly all that well with is Mario Kart and GoldenEye. GoldenEye specifically will show whether or not your controller is a piece of shit or if it's any good, because the dead zone on the stick for how it aims in that game and how they handled aiming is crazy. For example, some of my original controllers, the stick went on them, and I went out and I bought replacement springs and sticks to manually. I took the fucking box apart inside the controller and redid the springs and everything. It was like the dumbest puzzle I've ever had to try and put together in my life, because as soon as that comes apart, it's a fucking mess to try and put that back together.
You've got the giant fingers.
Yeah, and I've got bigger hands, not all that fun, but I got it all back together, and the new spring, you couldn't play games with it. The dead zone was fucked. It would if you were in Mario Kart, you'd either be driving a straight line or you'd be doing a 90-degree angle to the left or right, and those were your two options. If you were in GoldenEye, if you were holding R1 to aim, and you were trying to aim, it was like fucking, you were all over the screen. You were fucking shooting around people. You never actually hit anybody. It was a complete mess. So then I took them back apart. I put the old springs on new sticks, and that got closer. But it was surprising to me how much difference existed when you touched anything that wasn't like an honest to goodness original. I had one controller that had not been played much in the forever many years that I've had it, and that one plays everything beautifully. Everything's perfectly fine. So I mean, if I find a $40 N64 controller that's pretty much untouched, then shit, I'm all over that, because all my other options have been pretty crap. Otherwise, yeah, Jeff's got one in box right here.
Just gonna blow your mind real quick. Look at this.
Oh no, I've seen this. That one's still in the friggin' plastic.
So yeah, if there's people that are seeing this here on YouTube or on the stream, I've legit got an actual N64 controller, brand new, still in the plastic.
Still in the plastic. It's for those listening at home. It's one of the purple ones that were see-through.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
Atomic
super
purple
limited edition one that they had.
Yeah, and it's complete in box, in bag, untouched, sat in a corner somewhere, never even got bumped.
Yep. I have the same thing for the console as well. I have the Atomic Purple console bundle, brand new, still in box. Everything's still in plastic back there.
It's like euphoric when you just diddle the fucking stick, because it's just the snap back on it, and you're like, it just snaps back in place.
I think it's safe to say, instead of talking about the sticks for too long, they're gonna make it's Nintendo. They're gonna make good sticks. They're gonna figure out the controller. It's not gonna be like
it'll be
shitty
fine.
Third party shit. Yeah.
If there were any that I would be interested in buying, NES, Super Nintendo, whatever, N64 for me is where I would want to get into it. If those two titles, which would be shocking if they weren't, but the Bond license is up in, it's sketchy as to whether or not they'd be able to still use it.
James
Perfect Dark
Bond,
might be there
007
instead.
will definitely be on that console.
But if that and Mario Kart are on there, those are the only two titles I need to see, and I'm an instant purchase, and I will buy 4 controllers, and I will be all over that shit immediately. But yeah, so that's coming. It's probably going to be dope. We have no idea. It's just rumored really for now, but it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
100%.
First we have to let this SNES one simmer for a little bit, and then go from there. In a similar vein, the Genesis Flashback and Atari Flashback are coming, and they've been priced, and game lists and everything have been put out. And these two are dope deals. Atari, I don't really care all that much. It's kind of whatever to me. I mean, if you really want to go back and play Pong and Space Invaders and stuff, then all for it, but I don't need to spend $80 to play Pong and Space Invaders. But on the Genesis, there are some fire games on that thing, and there are a number of games on that.
Genesis is the one I'm interested in, because Genesis was a console I had when I was a kid. I didn't have an SNES at home. So
yes, 85 games. 85 games on that, and it will take original carts and play original carts.
Yeah, that's dope.
Which is fire.
Very dope. That's very
absolute fucking fire.
Very
and
dope.
Outputs 720p on HDMI. Yeah. That thing, and it has the save, pause, rewind feature for every game. All 85 games. Some of the games on there, I actually have, where'd I put that? I have the PDF from the website from the company that's doing this. Comic Zone, one of the best games from that era by miles. It's got Golden Axe 1, 2, and 3 on that. It's got, I think it has, where's the Phantasy Star is on here, as well as Phantasy Star 3. Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 are on here. Several Sonic games, of course, like Sonic & Knuckles, Sonic the Hedgehog
Where
2,
is this list?
3D Blast. You have to go to the website. It's actually linked on that.
I have the website open. I don't see a list.
If you click on the upcoming products thing about midway down the page, you'll find it on there, and you click on it, and it will download the PDF.
Ooh.
Oh man, what else is here?
There's 85
Vector
games.
Man.
It's going to be like every good. I mean, there's only so many good Sega games. So
yeah, I mean,
there's
some stuff on here that I would have liked to have seen that aren't there. Like Road Rash would have been pretty good to have on there. That that's
definitely
not there. But there is a lot of really good games on here. But I think the biggest thing is, and I didn't expect it, but the fact that, well, first of all, it comes with 2 controllers, which is absolutely dope, and I think they're both wireless. But the fact that it will still play original carts, is amazing.
That's genius.
I still have my Genesis carts around somewhere.
Yeah, the Genesis is one of my favorite consoles to collect for, just because of the boxes. I love the boxes of Sega. They're big, thick plastic. You can throw them at a wall. They don't break easily, unlike, the Nintendo or Super Nintendo flaky cardboard, which, look great when they're in good condition, but Sega just holds out. I mean, I don't have a lot of Sega games
because like video cassette things too. They're just ginormous.
Yeah, and it's Sega stuff is hard to find, man, and it's also hard to sell, because out of all the retro stuff that I've been collecting, I've come to learn, not even just here in this city, but just all the other YouTubers and guys that I follow and watch, Sega is the hardest out of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube. Sega is one of those ones that people don't like buying for all that much, because typically most Sega lovers love a few Sega titles, and that's the show. Although the Sega sold really well, for some reason it isn't as nostalgic as some of the older Nintendo consoles. Now, I'm being very general. There are probably people that are like, dude, shut the fuck up. I love Sega. In fact, Sega is my favorite. I get it.
It didn't have as many franchises as Nintendo. Like, it had a couple of big ones, but it was mostly just like a lot of those, like, I don't even know how to describe the games.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't the games that stuck with you. They weren't like the super ultra memorable characters. They were like the action-y games.
It's
like the sports games.
It's like when the whole world watches Game of Thrones and everybody loves Game of Thrones, that is Nintendo, Super Nintendo in the retro world. Well, Sega is like Vikings, It's a great show. A lot of people love it, watch it. It's not as appreciated as it should be, although people do love the show, but it's just not on that scale. It is more about a personal connection instead of just owning a Nintendo or Super Nintendo, knowing that you're going to get something that you like. Usually people that buy Sega stuff, there's purpose to it. When people buy Nintendo shit, it's just buying the next Nintendo shit. If you're going to go out and you're going to spend your money on a Sega product like this Sega Mini or whatever, those are going to be people that have a mission. They're out to play a specific game. They're out to have that moment. When you go out to buy a Nintendo, it's like, let's go line up at Best Buy and just buy the next thing. We don't even know why we're buying this shit. You know what I mean? So there's a little difference there.
Yeah, I just, and the Atari, not to completely, brush under the rug, same idea, huge list of games, and I think it also top loads Atari games, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I read that wrong.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I'm saying this right now because I'm have a sponsorship thing going on with Atari, but there are games that I do like for the original Atari, but it's just before my time. I do not have the nostalgia for the system as other people. That's typically most people that collect for Atari and that talk about it. Like when I got that big lot of video games, I sold off all my Atari games because I just don't collect for it. And there comes a point in time when you're a collector, you need to cut yourself off, or you just become a hoarder, and you're just gonna have too much stuff. It becomes too much. So
Jeff,
when I got all this, yeah.
You don't want to play Space Attack or Space War or Starship or Star Strike.
Well, you know what? A few of those games actually aren't half bad, but with the most people, when they come and buy these games from me or we're doing a trade, they're typically at least the age 30. The vast majority of them were like late 30s, early 40s in terms of age. So, somebody our age, between 28 and 30, we're like right on the cusp. It's did we play it or not? I didn't play it as a kid. I played Atari when I was a teenager. But not a lot of it. It
was expensive as fuck too. I mean, the Atari wasn't a cheap console, especially not the 2600. So
yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I see they have 105 games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Pac-Man on here.
It's got 120 apparently according to GameSpot. But if the list has got less than that, then that's probably the more accurate if it's from their website. It doesn't, however, top load like the other one.
Yeah.
So it's 120 titles.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason for that. I would imagine if they did it for the Genesis and not Atari, I have to assume there's probably a pretty good reason for it. It does, however, come with 2 controllers once again, and I believe it also has, let's see, just to confirm that. Yes, it also has 2 additional ports for wired controllers. So
you know what would have been cool that we're missing from now the Atari? The Sega Master System, Nintendo, regular Nintendo. Wouldn't it have been cool to have a duck hunt gun and one that could work with your LCD screens? Because that was the problem. That was the problem with the duck hunt guns. Is when I sell Nintendo games, or Nintendo systems with duck hunt,
CRT.
You need an old CRT TV. Wouldn't it be cool if they figured out a way that you could use the gun and wirelessly, so that you could play Duck Hunt, a classic, on your big screen TV? I think that would be a pretty hot seller too.
Yeah, I think the challenge is, of course, those light guns relied on not just a CRT, but it had to be a curved CRT, like an original one, because the curve is what threw the light back to the gun to show the gun where the fuck you just shot, right? So. And with bigger TVs now, there's like a variety of coatings on it. You've got straight glass, you've got matte finishes,
all that crazy stuff,
all sorts of other shit. So like, I'm sure they could rig some shit up. I just don't know what it would be.
Well,
there are people that are,
that gun was brilliant for its time if you think about it.
It was very, very, very
Panic,
high tech.
The TV that you have the OLED, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have the same TV.
Yeah, mine's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, so the controller, the remote, how it's almost like a wand where you just move it around and there's a thing. If they use that technology in the gun, I think it could probably work. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I think that's the answer.
I mean, if
I don't know how expensive it is, but
if it works,
well, the problem is
obviously I think that's
that
great.
remote pairs with the TV. I don't know how you would pair the light gun with the TV to kind of know where the. Yeah, I'm sure they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Again, somebody who's intelligent can put that shit together.
They can make the Switch simulate each individual ice cube in the controller. They can figure out a light gun.
That's right.
Exactly. We can count the ice cubes. Well, moving on from that stuff, as dope as that all was, I'm really just top that off. That Genesis thing is dope as fuck. The fact that it plays cartridges,
that's
fire. And $80 US? Are you kidding me?
It's a pretty good deal.
How do you pass that up? Hopefully it doesn't come out and just suck balls. Just hopefully it doesn't. Just like it's like the most
They've had
complicated
some
game to get
issues with
working.
some of their stuff they've released, so who knows?
Yeah, we'll cross fingers and hope that comes together. Just I guess to tie this in with the retro-y stuff that we were just talking about. There was a NES game that just sold for an absolute ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I read about that.
So, I mean, there are, depending on, how much you know about collecting video games and whatnot, there are a handful of Nintendo Entertainment System cartridges that were super limited run, and go for an absolutely astounding amount of money if you have one in good condition, or even if you just have one, period. Sometimes it doesn't even matter if a bird took a shit on it. People don't really care. Just, you have one of like 5 carts, and now you're going to make a lot of money. One of those is the Stadium Events cart, which was like an Olympic-y, game that had a...
I have a reproduction. It's the only reproduction cart that I own. It's the Stadium Events, and even the reproduction carts start at $50.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
It's a crazy rare game. I don't know how many original carts were
What is
printed.
a reproduction cart?
So a reproduction is where it's a fake. So
someone just made it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It makes it. You got to be careful, and that's one of the big things in the retro world is buying on eBay and stuff, because there's people out there that will create a fake and sell it as if it's real. So most times when you're collecting and you're buying a game that's worth $100 or more, you always open up the cart itself with these right here. These are
little micro screwdrivers deal.
Yeah, so that'll open up an N64 cart, Super Nintendo. Fakes aren't as popular for N64, so usually you're pretty good about those. There are some fake clay fighters out there, but the big one is Nintendo and Super Nintendo. Stadium Events, one of the most reproduced, and the most reproduced one is the Nintendo or the World Championship carts.
Yeah.
You can even get gold ones. You can get the gray variants, everything. Those carts real will go for 10 grand. You really kind of make your own price because there's only so many of them. Stadium Events, I think just like a loose cart for Stadium Events is like 4 to 5 grand, just a cart. But if you have it in box complete, they go for, you almost can just name your price. You got one sealed, well, and that's where we're at right now. Well, how much was it?
$42,000.
Oh yeah, 42.
$42,000, and one sold in 2015 for somewhere around the 35 mark.
Yeah.
I know this cartridge was like bundled with like the fitness thing they had, but why is it so expensive? Like, did Nintendo not move this at volume at all?
Yeah, there wasn't many produced. It didn't do well. I do believe it came with that big.
Yeah, it was the pad thing.
Yeah,
the only way you could get it.
So there wasn't many of them, and that's the show. There's just not a lot of them out there. Not a lot of them were sold. Not a lot of them were made. Sometimes what makes games more rare than others is the fact that sometimes the games will come out at the end of the console's life cycle, and then there's only so many of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's only Japanese release games or American release games or variants of each. Sometimes there's a game that's released in both North America and Japan, and they're two totally different games. They're the same conceptually, but there are different things about it. Like Slaughterhouse, for example, you can get the one for the TurboGrafx 16, where I think he's wearing the red mask. This could be backwards. And if you get the Japanese version, it's the white mask, I do believe. But the white mask one is more rare and more expensive. All the artwork is different. The mask in game is different. And I could have that mixed up, so if I do apologize, but you get the idea. There's many reasons why games are rarer than others. The vast majority of the time it's either a limited release or only so many of them were sold or bought, or they try to destroy the game itself. There was something
like a
up
licensing
with the game,
problem
a licensing issue. They burned them all in a dump fire somewhere, and then there's still some scattered around. And then there's also ones that kind of like the Star Fox 2, where games may have been made and they never got put out, and there's a few out there, and that's the show. With the World Nintendo one is they had the championships, and those carts were only given, the gold ones were only given to the winners. And I think I don't know how many there was. I think there's just a little over.
What's on those gold carts? Like what's special about them?
Well, what makes them special is they I do believe now.
I know you had to win, but what is the actual content of the cartridge? Is it something like you put it in the console, it does something?
Yeah, well, I think there's just a set of games of the games that they actually played in the championship, because I think it was a combination of a bunch of different games like Tetris and Mario and different games like that. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. It's just a mixture of the games that they played, and depending on the place that you got, there was a gray variant, and then there was the gold variant. You got the gold variant, you came in first place. And there was only so many of them. One guy in particular went out. He was smart as fuck, dude. When Nintendo was doing their magazines, this guy posted an ad in the magazines and said he was looking to in each magazine, they told the winners of each of those championships, and it would tell you the name of the person. So this guy, now later on, many years after the fact, went back and got all those magazines and contacted all of them on Facebook and other places and asked them if they still had the cart. Most of them had the cart. They just had it sitting in a basement somewhere. They didn't think anything of it. They're not like collectors. And so this guy went out and bought like 15 of them from all these different people. He flew out to meet people. He bought them, and he basically just asked, "How much do you want for these games?" And I think the least amount that he paid for one was $50, and then the most was like $1,200 or something. So he got a shit ton of these games, and then obviously he likely flipped them for a ridiculous amount of money, because they go for like, the gold ones go for like $10K a pop. And you kind of just make your own.
There was one that went. I'm almost positive one of the Nintendo Championship gold carts went for almost $100,000.
I believe it. You make your own price. You just make it up yourself. It's like they're so rare. What do you? So there's no guide.
For Stadium. 42 grand. Not a bad day for that guy. Doing pretty well by that.
College tuition in the States for private school.
Not too bad whatsoever. But there's a handful of those. I mean, there's like Cheetah Men or whatever is another one that's kind of rare to get your hands on, and some of them are pretty freaking crazy in terms of how much they're valued at. Last topic, gentlemen, before we move into sellout time. I want to talk about this quickly because I looked into it. This just hit GameSpot like as I was putting together the list of this first segment, and No Man's Sky apparently either synced up with or has had running, and people didn't put two and two together yet. But it's more obvious now. No Man's Sky put out a website as part of an ARG, like an alternate reality game. It's basically, ARGs are, for all intents and purposes, a marketing tool that some game companies have used to great success and not so much success over the years. And I guess Hello Games decided that for what appears to be for a major update that's forthcoming within the coming months. I think they listed a time frame, but I'm not 100% sure what it was now. They have this ARG running, and it's pretty crazy. I went to the Reddit page that they're figuring it out. They had a secret
into it. They're liking it.
Oh, people are really like going fucking ham for it because it's a really well done one. Like there have been ARGs that have been fucking terrible, This one's pretty well thought out and pretty intricate, and they're kind of stumped right now. They've gotten to a point now where they're actually waiting for some more information to come forth because the community's kind of stumped. They even had a kind of hidden live stream on Twitch where they had this girl with like this video filter over top and everything. And it was live, and every like 15 minutes for an hour, based on what cities were supposed to be coming through, based on the emails they sent out, she was playing the part and giving information and stuff as it was as it went along. And it was all dope. I was like, this is fucking awesome. I mean, I haven't seen an ARG done well in a long time. And so it was pretty cool. And it has me wondering if, you know, at the very least, what the update entails. Like, you have to imagine it has to be substantial if they're going to go so far as this.
Titans, and
yes,
you and I are one of the few people who actually played the game for a long period of time and didn't absolutely hate it.
Yes, true.
So from my perspective, they mentioned, like, you know, Titans and other stuff going on. So, you know, this may be that coming out finally. That being said, I'm not super excited about it. Again, if they're going to charge money for it, I'm completely turned off to it. But if it's coming out for free, I'm on board with it, because they released the Foundation update. And they had 2 updates in the Foundation updates so far, and they were both really good. They added a lot of functionality. They added a lot of features. It made the game probably closer to where it should have been at launch, and I enjoyed them, and they were totally free. So if they're coming out with, you know, Waking Titan, then it's going to be free, and it's going to be an add-on for it. With the ARG and everything, it's good for them. I think it'll bring them back up a bit more, but again, we kind of need to see what they're promising versus what they deliver.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not even all that, you know, I mean, I'm interested in what the content of the update will be, if only because, you know, you don't generally do an ARG to you know, for a small, you know, little update thing. You do it because something substantial is coming. So I'm just interested as to what, you know, what kind of content that's going to be. And I put it in here just because the ARG itself is just being done really, really well. And those kind of events, while they don't hit a huge audience, they'll hit a pool of, you know, sometimes they'll go, you know, 10, 20,000 people will be avidly working the shit out of an ARG, and they get kind of complicated. They do like hex codes, and they've got people tracing packets and shit from point A to point B. Like, stuff gets kind of nutso with some of these ARGs, and that's kind of what this one's been like. And so to watch, it's been kind of fun. Like you said, I didn't hate No Man's Sky. It was a horribly unfinished game, to put it lightly. But I loved that they did it because of the implications of what other games using that kind of technology, what it would have in the future. It was like the stepping stone for having such massive space-based procedural generation, and being able to, even if it's a trick, going from space down to surface was just really neat. It's like, cool. Everything else is broken as fuck. But it was cool to see it as a tech piece. And so if they can somehow band-aid some shit onto the game to make it like sort of kind of complete, and again continue to like give other developers with more money ideas as to how to handle that genre, then it's neato.
I personally think you know, No Man's Sky was It was a great concept, but it was not a great game. They created something that somebody's going to take and do it 50 times better, and it's just going to be and we'll thank them for that. Yeah. But beyond that, that's the show. I don't care what they do at this point. I'll never turn it on again.
Yeah, when they came out, I was like, this would have been a good game if it was like a $25 indie game.
Yeah,
and like they would have had a lot better critical reception, instead of the $50 or $60 game that they sold us on. I was just like, you didn't really get that far.
It is what it is. I think as soon as they signed on with Sony, it all went tits up. because originally the price was like 30 something bucks. Like it was listed for, I think, for pre-order or some shit, if memory serves, for something along those lines. And then as soon as they were picked up by Sony, the price went straight to full AAA title. And then of course it was on an indie. It was all up on this like 12-man indie team to tell the world that it was going to be this god tier game that Sony needed it to be. And it just did not happen at all. But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, that's it for Side A. No, I'm joking.
Wow.
It's not the end of Side A yet. Side A is technically after we go into tech support. Yes. Mm-hmm. But what it is time for is it's time for some good old-fashioned sellout. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to go and get water and attempt to cool myself down.
It's bad.
Just the heat in this house keeps going up. So we'll be right back in a couple of minutes to talk about the movie and TV stuff, because holy crap, this week has been a lot going on.
That's because Comic-Con just happened.
Yeah, so we get all the news. So sit tight, we'll be right back, and we'll be talking movies and TV.
Patreon. Dungeons and Dragons 5K, let's go.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying Technical Alpha and are interested in supporting us, do I have a solution for you? We've set up this Patreon page to help us help you, help us and you. We've got a list of options that would make a used car salesman cry that provide you with a range of goodies for your support. Head on over to patreon.com/technicalalpha to see what's up for grabs. Like fancy badges and stuff? Subscribe to us on Twitch to get access to, well, badges and stuff. Not big on subscriptions? We have a button below that allows you to directly throw money at our faces. Careful you don't take those eyes out though. We are so very fond of our eyes. Honestly though, while we like to joke about the sellout, just being a regular listener is a huge help, and we're incredibly thankful for all of your support. Technical Alpha will continue soon, so sit tight. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have the 2-bite brownies now. We have those the ones at Costco's little cinnamon roll things that are the same size as the 2-bite brownies.
Dude,
and oh my
I swear to God, the older I get, the more I love things with cinnamon. I just
What?
Really?
I don't know what it is, man, but I love cinnamon. I'm on that cinnamon raisin or bagels, those Ezekiel bread.
The only thing with cinnamon I like is Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Nah, you know what? I don't even
the
fuck
taste
with
you
that.
Can see.
I don't fuck with that. I do though. Fucks with cinnamon, sugared cinnamon on your popcorn. I mean, if you're at the movie theater and you just put butter all over that bitch, and then you put sugared cinnamon on top, oh my God. It gives it the crunch. You get that cinnamon flavor. It gives the popcorn a flavor. I mean, I actually want some cinnamon right now.
It is delicious. In moderation, of course. Don't be that YouTube guy that thinks I'm going to get away with the cinnamon challenge, because you're not.
No,
it's not going to happen. That's always going to end poorly. 100% of the time. Yeah, 100% of the time. Actually, you know what? Since we didn't get it in the first half, Mr. MaximusBlack.
Yeah.
Hit me up with the sound of attempting the cinnamon challenge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I might have to sell out a little bit. I might be able to do a little bit of that cinnamon challenge there, boys. I don't know. But anyway, back to the noise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am now going to attempt to eat this spoon of cinnamon. No problem. I've eaten worse. Here we go. Okay.
Well done. Very
Thanks.
well recreated. That was very faithful to reality. It is. You turn into like a cartoon version where you do the whole thing. And it's just like dust just flies out of your mouth. It's terrible. I don't suggest you try that at home. And if you do, Godspeed. You'll probably never want to taste cinnamon again after that.
And don't tell anyone that we put you up to it.
No, we do not endorse any cinnamon challenges accepted on the home front. That is 100% on you, without question. Movies, gentlemen, there's a lot going on here. We talked a lot about retro stuff already. We have so many movie things. Unless Jeff has something retro he wanted to talk about before we bounced into the movie stuff, then we can get right into it. Is there anything that you wanted to cover before we talked all this?
Like movie-wise?
I mean, if there was retro, if there's retro stuff, if there's anything you wanted to cover before we.
No, we talked actually quite a bit about retro, so I think we're good for the week. Okay,
so the first thing I have on the list that I have, and Mr. Black might have more, Panic might have more. I just put together some stuff that I personally noticed as the film plebeian of the trio.
Salty before we get into the actual list. I have a little tale of this week. I had tickets to Dunkirk tomorrow for the 75mm showing.
Ooh.
Shit!
And I was super excited because I can't go.
Why?
Because I've got a family obligation that I have to go to, so I am not able to go to a 75mm showing.
Rip.
I'm going to try to see if I can get those tickets rescheduled to the following week.
Rip.
Oh my God!
Because there's only 100 or so theaters in the States that do it.
Yeah, we don't have it here, sadly.
Wow.
So, I'm gonna go see it in IMAX.
Oh.
I'll probably go see it tomorrow night.
I was like set for 4 p.m. tomorrow. I was all set to go, and then I was just like, all the family stuff came up, and I'm just like, I'm forgetting something. And
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
go last night.
Dunkirk.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've heard nothing but good reviews. The only negative reviews that I've been hearing about the movie is that it isn't character driven. There's no real
It's a historical event. It's not really
and also I've heard people say that it makes you come out like not liking the people that were in the war, like on both sides, because everyone was just for themselves, and but it's so realistic. It's war. Like, what do you expect?
Imagine that.
You know, and it was a different time and everything. So it's apparently just super realistic. The sound is supposed to be amazing.
People are saying it's
Nolan.
Nolan's best work.
Yeah, so I can't wait to go see it. I'm not gonna overly hype myself because I don't want to go like feeling
happened
I'm let
twice
down
already,
in some way.
right?
Yeah, so I know I'm just gonna go out and enjoy it. I was gonna go last night, and then after I was done doing all the car stuff, for the first time in almost a year, my body decided to have an anxiety attack. So I took a nap and shit eventually, and then when I woke up, I still felt just like I felt okay, but I felt drained. Like literally, my body.
The feeling.
There's no way I was going to a movie, and so I had to cancel it on going to see Dunkirk last night. But I'm definitely going to go tomorrow night. I can't wait. And Fridays suck because this podcast. God damn it. I told Adam that the other day. I'm like, Jesus,
we
man.
need to move this to like a Thursday or something.
Oh, my goodness. It's like every Friday something fire comes out in the summer, and I got to do this podcast, and it's like right at the time from like 7 till 9.
Movie
or from
prime
9.
Time.
Yeah, you missed both shows. You missed the 7 o'clock show and the late show. So,
well, we can discuss moving it to Thursday if stuff gets desperate.
It's all
with the movie stuff.
good.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. I mean, Dunkirk does look fantastic. I mean, I think that it would have been unrealistic to imagine that this was going to be a character-driven, standard piece. Yeah. It's the whole time I've been seeing it, presented to the public. It's looked more like almost a documentary. Mm-hmm. than anything else, and which I think is good for a number of reasons. And I think that the people that were in charge of this movie, if there was going to be a movie in that style, I think this was like the pantheon of these were the people that were going to do it. So I imagine there's going to be some people that are like, this movie sucked. I didn't get to cheer for anyone, and war is terrible.
Jeff, you're gonna love this in such beautiful terms. I know you're probably gonna have to say something ridiculously hilarious about it, but USA Today's review has been getting panned by a lot of people because they docked the movie a whole lot of points because there weren't enough strong female lead characters and there were no lead people of color.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, this is a historical movie, bro.
No.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, because fucking Tyrone and Shaniqua were just running around there in the fucking war.
I'm just like, guys,
like,
gotta draw the line somewhere,
that,
man.
This
is World War whatever.
This is the new thing, man. It's the new race war right now.
Don't rewrite history.
What was it, like 2015? It was the transgender shit, and now it's the black or the minorities and the women are not being represented. It's just like, come on, it's one movie. It's a historical movie. It's a historical movie. What do you want? You complain when we change the ethnicity of a lead character in a fucking Marvel movie, but yet you want to complain that we're not changing the actual historic ethnicities of people that were in this war. Are you fucking stupid?
If it's like a fictional movie, by all means, be more diverse, but you're literally talking about some historical event that happened. The movie's based on a true thing. Don't rewrite that bullshit. Come on.
You know what I find the most hilarious about this whole thing is that...
And people were like getting flustered about it, like, why is there no... I'm like, seriously? There were no female combatants. There were no, they weren't soldiers until recently.
Does anyone else find it kind of odd that unless the movie was... based on an anime, nobody ever says, hey, where's the Asian guy? Nobody says, where's the Asians in this movie? Where's all the brown guys and girls? I want to see that. It's always, there's too many white people. Where are the black people? It's like there's only two races in North America, and nobody else fucking exists.
I know you guys aren't weebs like me, but Full Metal Alchemist is an anime series. It's actually based on Europeans. All the characters are pretty much white.
Yes.
But when they came up with the live action movie, I was like sitting there, I'm like, this is actually one of the few movies that they could cast white characters and it would be reasonable. But no, they cast all Asian characters, and all the characters look really weird. And not to knock them, but they don't mesh up because it was based on like Germanic people. And it's not. It's weird. And that's how I feel about historical movies too.
Yeah, and somebody just said in chat, isn't that what it was all about, Ghost in the Shell? Well, Ghost in the Shell is, an anime.
It was an Asian thing.
It was an Asian thing, but coincidentally, even the guy who, to my recollection, the artist was like, I didn't base Major on a Japanese woman. It was just an android, and in fact, she was more representative of a European look than anything else. And so when people got all like tits in a twist over Scarlett Johansson taking the lead role, it was ridiculous. But that's what I mean. Like, unless it's an anime related thing, nobody brings up any other race. There's no like East Indian. There's no Asian.
Well, that's just because it's America. It's not even just America.
White.
It's just it's the same thing in Europe. It's the same thing in North America. For one, like, there aren't a lot of Asian movie stars. There's not a lot of Hispanic movie stars. There's not a lot of whatever, in Indian movie stars.
Bollywood's its own
Bollywood has
universe.
its own fucking thing, and it's a massive in and on its own. And also, when it comes to Asians represented in movies, Asians are also pretty obsessed with American culture. So they don't really care that they're not always represented. The only time that and China is definitely huge now for movies.
China loves shitty American movies for some reason.
Oh yeah, they love it, but now you're starting to see
they ate up Warcraft.
You're starting to see Asian, like, one Chinese character because to appease China, because China's going to watch the American movies anyway. But if you have one relatable character and all the rest are your American, people that they obsess over and they want to look like, and I'm being very, kind of ignorant when I say that, but you know what I'm saying. The Asians are very, very obsessed with American culture. They just are. I mean, it's just how it is.
American and Chinese food restaurants are super popular in China.
So it's that's why. So really, it's a battle of white and black in Hollywood, and it's always sort of been that way. So it is stupid. It's so shallow. It's dumb.
Stupid.
It's dumb as fuck.
Of all the things for them to, and they're going to get completely reamed on this one, because of all the things to pick your battles on, you go for a recreation of a World War II fucking battle. Seriously,
this came from today's show, bro. Who gives a fuck at this point?
No. USA Today, actual newspaper, like outlet.
Yeah.
I'm like, journalism, please.
Just come the fuck on.
But yeah, Dunkirk. News, Trump must not have tweeted out anything that morning.
Dunkirk looks dope for sure. The first thing that I had on my list of things I saw this week for the first time was the trailer for Bright, which is the Will Smith Netflix movie.
Dude, that's weird, man. I don't know what the fuck that is.
That was, what I got when I was watching it? Okay, so as I'm watching the trailer, right, I saw it for the first time on TV. I think it was only like last night before or whatever. I'm watching TV with Gabs, and this trailer comes up, and I was like, oh shit, this is a Netflix movie with Will Smith. That's pretty fucking dope. Was my immediate first thought was, okay, Will Smith's in a Netflix movie, fire. All right, and then we get into it, and it's called Bright, which tells you nothing about the movie. So it gets into its thing or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm watching Will Smith in like a bathrobe beating the shit out of a fairy on his hummingbird feeder or whatever the fuck, beating it into the ground. And I was like, all right, it's a little weird. And he gives his traditional, Will Smith sharp one-liner, keep doing ghetto shit. It's not like I'm trying to sell my house. Walks back inside, whatever. That was pretty funny. And I started getting Will Smith in Men in Black. Yeah. Was exactly how I felt kind of at that point.
I saw Men in Black but Magic.
But then the trailer just kept getting more and more fucking weird. Then all of a sudden he was like with his alien sidekick in the police force, and I was like, all right, that's cool, whatever. Apparently he's an orc, I guess. I found out later. And I was like, all right, fine, I'm with you. And then I find out the whole movie is centered around them getting a magic wand, and I went, nope, wait,
that's why it's bright. I'm pretty sure the magic wand is bright, and that's why they call it bright. It looks like a mix between, I don't even know Men in Black. I would say Suicide Squad, because I do believe it's the same director. It's very Suicide Squad-y.
The
and
then
also,
it was Men in Black.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same director from Suicide Squad.
Is. Yep, it is.
So it is basically, I feel like Suicide Squad meets that shitty R.I.P.D. movie. Did you ever watch that movie?
That one.
Oh,
the Jeff
God,
Bridges and Ryan Reynolds.
The dead police officer stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of like a mix between those two. It feels it's like it's dark. They have, really cool practical effects for some of these characters and stuff, and it had a little bit of Hancock in there too.
I wish they'd make Hancock too.
Yeah, they talked about it for a while. But you know what, dude? It's Will Smith. It's a Netflix movie. I think it's going to end up being good. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be free to watch. I pay for Netflix. I'm going to watch it. I mean, fuck, I can watch it in my own house. There's no risk. It's not like I'm going to the movie theater.
I just think not Will Smith. I just think the trailer did it no justice. I think it was just a really shit trailer.
It was like watching the Evil Within trailer again. Like, I was confused when I was watching it.
I was definitely confused.
Like,
I felt like I was watching three different movies, 3 different franchises. It was weird.
Like I said, I was right with them until I saw and heard Magic Wand, and then I heard them say the word Magic Wand like 5 times in that trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, stop saying Magic Wand because it's making this movie feel cheap. Just stop saying Magic Wand.
It cheapens it big time. I honestly thought it was going to be like a Netflix series, and then I'd be like, okay, this makes sense. Maybe there'll be, there's a lot going on here. Maybe after a lot of, 3 or 4 episodes
into like a Luther-style 4-episode series or whatever.
But if it's like an hour and a half, 2-hour movie, and it seems like there's a lot going on, I don't know what to think. But we'll see.
I think I'm definitely gonna watch it for sure. That really my only major complaint was, as stupid as it sounds, the magic wand thing. Yeah. Way too many times was it said. It cheapened the fuck out of it. There's a million different things they could have called that, and I would have been so much more comfortable with it. And for whatever reason, they stuck with fucking magic wand. They're already talking about, if there was a sequel, about the fact that they'd be going into like the history of like the orcs and the elves in New York or whatever, and I was like, okay, that sounds fucky enough for me to watch it, but sure, whatever. So we're gonna find out what that's about eventually. Was there a release for that? I didn't actually catch at the end of it.
Soon.
I didn't see it.
It's this year, I'm pretty sure.
Sometime
probably this summer, I would imagine.
Well, I mean, Netflix is kind of have to stagger their stuff out because they had some pretty big releases, like literally like Rogue One just came out on Netflix, which is like the first Star Wars movie ever on like a streaming service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then they've got Defenders coming out in like the next couple of weeks. They've got a couple of their other series coming out over the next couple of months.
They spent $100 million on this movie, so I'm guessing it's got to be. I'm hoping it's at least pretty good. That's all I can hope for. Is it's pretty good. Now I'll keep this all movie related first before going into TV stuff that I wrote down here. Let's talk about another trailer, I guess. That makes sense. We'll keep on the trailer hype. The new Saw movie trailer, Jigsaw, looks bad. Like,
that's a franchise you should have let die.
Like the really fifth one or bad. Did we need another Saw movie? Like, how many exist at this point?
I think
there's
like
like 5, 6. Oh, what? 10?
5?
10?
Maybe
I've just been blocking them out.
Crack, dude, there's so much more than 5.
I thought there's 5 Saw movies.
Oh, there's at least 8. At least. I'm gonna
Googling it now. How many Saw movies?
They went full Land Before Time? Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, look at that. Okay. Yeah, the number 8.
Wow.
You know they're going to go to 10, right? Saw X, you know it's coming.
They did Saw 6, and then they had like Saw 3D, and then there's like another one in there. Wow.
Okay, so there is there still only, where's Saw 3D at? Which one was that? Was that number 3?
No, it was called Saw 3D.
Oh, okay.
So they have, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, here's the thing. They're cheap as fuck to make. And you put them out on Halloween, and people want to go watch a horror movie.
They make
and
money.
Saw
yeah.
is a brand that people can recognize. They
2004,
know they're going to get some cheap scares, and that's the show.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They've gone 7 years without a Saw movie.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe there's just been so many that I feel like this last one came out like last friggin' year. I mean, it just seems like I've been
2010.
inundated with Saw movies. But all that aside, just looking at it in its own thing, the trailer was pretty bad. The music they chose for it made no friggin' sense whatsoever.
I didn't watch it, dude, to be honest with you.
And yeah, it was weird. Like they were going for that juxtaposition shit where they had like a kind of an upbeat-ish song, up against people getting chained up and dragged towards buzzsaws and all the usual fuckery that is in a Saw movie. And there was even a really bad one-liner joke that was just like, really? What the fuck? So you got this
watch it.
already. Oh, dude, he has this already shit music going in the background, and then here comes, after all this build-up, here comes Jigsaw out on his tricycle or whatever, and the fucking the eyes are lit up or whatever, and it cuts to one of the people chained up and fuck whatever, he's about to get cut in half or whatever the fuck they do in these movies now, and he says, well, that isn't creepy or anything.
Wow. That's so their budgets went from 10 to 15 million to 400,000. They just couldn't afford a writer. They couldn't afford anything.
It's like they're self-parodying, parodying. Is that even a word?
That's kind of a weird thing to say. Self-parodying.
So we'll just say self-parody. We'll just stick with that. I don't know. That's a word. There's a word in there somewhere. Fuck English. Yeah. So it was bad, and they should feel bad. But did you guys watch, like, how many of the Saw movies have you guys individually seen? Like, have you watched many of them?
0.
I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Damn.
I don't think I watched 6.
Damn.
I know
7
I didn't
was
watch
Saw
the 3D.
Saw 7 was the 3D one.
I didn't watch the 3D one. I definitely watched the first 6, I would say. Maybe even, first 6, I would say. Last one I didn't watch.
Was there any point in time in which those movies weren't complete garbage, or
what?
Did it start off okay?
No, well, it started off really well simply because it was. I do believe the original Saw started off as a short film, and it was like a promotional thing for a new production company that was going to be producing horror movies. And so
that was James Wan, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do believe it was James Wan who is. I don't know if he directed the original.
I think he did. He did like one or two of them. I think he was like the original guy.
Yeah, James Wan. There you go. So yeah, James Wan. Yeah, it was like his big debut, and it was like a short film. It did really, really well. So the budget was 1.2 million, and it did 121 million. Obviously, at that point, they're going to greenlight another one. Second one was 4.6 million budget and made even more money worldwide, 170 million. Third one, they upped it again. I remember Saw 3 because the production of it went up big time. It was over 11 million budget, and they made 183 million dollars, and that was where they peaked. And then after that, it went to 150, 119, 69, and then the 3D one did really well with 138 million. But that's because it was 3D and you had to pay like an extra $3 or whatever for to
get into it.
The shit. You know what? I will say this about the Saw movies. The first one was great. The first one, it wasn't as groundbreaking as, say, the Blair Witch Project, but it kind of had that feel to it where it had never been done like that before. It was very closed, intimate, one area.
It brought it back like the gore horror, like the horror psychological thriller type ones.
It was cool.
Like
it was a cool
like
little
Hostel.
film. So that was good. Number 2, it wasn't as good of a movie, but they had more budget and they did some cooler shit. And so really after 2, it became more of how do we one-up the deaths? And things started to become progressively more dumb. The characters were just like shitty, like Z-list actors that were like models trying to make it in Hollywood, and they would just, give them a fucking Snickers bar and pay their rent for 2 weeks, and they would do the movie. So, in terms of acting, that really dumbed it down a lot. But there is always something relatively smart about the movies, the way they did the traps and these games that the killer would want to play, and even though you thought you've seen it all, they managed to come up with some really ridiculous things that would creep you out. So it was torture porn, and that was the show. They made money from torture porn, and then eventually people became desensitized with it, and it just wasn't even scary anymore. It became almost a parody. It became like a scary movie where you're just like, really, is this real life? Where's the Wayans brothers right now? Because if a Wayans brother popped out, you'd think that it was a scary movie. So I'm hoping that with a 7-year break, they come back and they make it dark, gritty, and scary. And hopefully James Wan is part of it in some way.
I'd be surprised if he is.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he might produce it. I have no idea. But yeah, anyway, that's enough about Saw. I'm sawed out.
All right.
So
let's
Spirit Brothers, by the way, for the directors on that.
Oh, okay. There you go. Let's talk about. All right. So we've talked about Pacific Rim here before on the podcast. All three of us like Pacific Rim.
Wait, is that happening?
Yeah, very solid. Pacific Rim 2 is a thing, so Panic can now sleep easy. Not only is it happening,
too. I love
but John Boyega is the fucking star in it.
Yeah,
this is not a prequel. It's like sequel.
It's a sequel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Pacific Rim Uprising.
Because the only other thing I would want to see other than a sequel is I would love to see them do like a prequel with Idris Elba and his story and like the whole start of like the Jaeger stuff. Because I feel like Idris Elba needed more time, more screen time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't try and do that, since Idris Elba is such a huge movie star now. But you know what, man? I'll be honest too. At the same time, I'm tired of prequels. I'm prequeled the fuck out. I would much rather this. I would much rather like a movie like Pacific Rim. It was a great movie, or like even Planet of the Apes, and all the original Planet of the Apes came up. Then we get the new prequel trilogy that we got, which incredible. The last one, the War on the Planet of the Apes or whatever, absolutely fucking amazing.
It was good.
Oh,
I'm probably gonna go see that tomorrow.
Oh my god, dude, you run out and see it, man. Woody Harrelson is just, man,
Am I allowed to love Woody Harrelson almost more than anyone else in Hollywood? Is that okay?
That's the thing. Like, I've been hearing so many mixed reviews for the Planet of the Apes.
Go see.
Like,
it,
I'm gonna go see it because I need to have my own opinion on it because I've watched the first two. But like, everyone's been like, it was terrible. It was amazing. It was okay. I'm like, what is wrong with everyone?
It's a perfect conclusion to that. So what I was getting at is, there's so many movies that are coming out that do really, really well, and it's almost as if Hollywood is scared to make a sequel because sequels typically are not that great and don't meet expectations. So they just go the prequel route. I mean, 5-6 years ago, we would just, even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we would just get sequel after sequel after sequel. Now they put out a movie and it's like insta prequel. It's like, why are we going backwards already? Why not finish the story and then go back and do a prequel, or reboot a franchise and start it as a prequel and then move your way up? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like they're doing a macro version of starting in the middle and then going back to the beginning and then running all the way through it again, except instead of within one movie, they're doing it over the course of an entire franchise, and they're planning it out as such. I think we're getting a lot of prequels because people like to get backstories to characters that they enjoy. So I think some of them are they're banking on the fact that the characters are going to be loved enough for people to want to see.
Because part of
origin
it was
stories.
Pacific Rim was Guillermo del Toro had limits on what he could produce, so he wanted to make sure that he got a complete story out if he didn't get any other movies. So he did the story, which for Pacific Rim it was self-contained, but now I think they gave him another movie and he had to choose between doing the sequel or going into more Idris Elba's story because that was the other one they were talking about. So. I wouldn't have been happy with either.
How do we feel about John?
I'm down for
John
it.
Boyega is amazing, dude.
I'm down for it.
He's gonna be well. I was gonna say he's gonna be a movie star. I mean, he is a movie star now, but
he's been getting a lot of roles, hasn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's been getting a lot. Just a lot of because he's been busy filming Star Wars movies, so obviously the roles that he takes can't be overly huge. But I'm sure this will be, as long as this movie does well, he's on his way to becoming a movie star. I mean, technically he's a star by default because he's part of the Star Wars franchise, but the guy is really talented. He can definitely hold a movie. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I love John Boyega. He's great.
I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him outside of the Star Wars movie personally that I can think of off the top of my head. So I can't speak to his acting ability, but it's Pacific Rim. He doesn't really need to knock this shit out of the park in some sort of crazy way. I think that the fact that he is just an honestly super likable dude is going to carry him more than enough for Pacific Rim. I mean, he's such a fucking nice dude. He's just so whatever. He's so relaxed. Which is kind of same with Daisy as well. But I feel like they tried to make Daisy look more like that, but Johnny, I call him Johnny, but John just seems like that is fucking him. That like John wakes up in the morning and he's just like a puppy, fucking just.
He's like Tom Holland, right? It's
he's just excited.
It's these new because he genuinely is excited. He obviously he always wanted to be an actor. He's made it big. He's having fun. He hasn't become a jaded Hollywood star yet. He's soaking it all in. He's enjoying the moment. He's living in it. He's giving it all he's got. He's getting well received, and you could tell he's having fun no matter what. I'm sure the guy always has a smile on his face on set. He's probably a pleasure to work with, and they haven't broken his spirits yet. So right now he's just fun. He's just fun to watch on screen.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to more information on that. The first one is a really what I call a popcorn movie. It's a fantastic movie to watch. The spectacle in 3 fucking quarters. And if you ever wanted, I'll say this every time I mention this movie, if you buy a new sound system, the first movie that you should be testing your sound system with is Pacific Rim, because it will separate the men from the boys in there. They spent a lot of time and money on the audio in that fucking movie. It's crazy.
I just love the movie because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a good action movie. No. It has a decent plot. Acting's mediocre at best, but it's still a good movie.
Yep.
Like
it's a Del Toro film.
Yeah, you're just going to go in to enjoy it.
It's, he does pretty good stuff.
What's not to like about giant robots beating the crap out of monsters?
That's true. Last thing movie wise that I had before the one TV thing, and then I'll ask if you guys had any other movie related stuff. Valerian. That's a movie a lot of people seem to be talking about right now. And when I went on before the podcast to see what the general consensus and stuff has been, I have not seen a movie be so divisive amongst reviewers and people who have gone to watch it in a long time. Like, there are either people saying this movie is fucking awesome or that it's garbage. I'm not seeing a lot of in-betweeners on this one. I'm not seeing people going, eh. I'm either seeing big thumbs up or fucking like 2 thumbs down. I just listed here for shits. Roger Ebert 4 to 4. Then you go to Rotten Tomatoes and it's 57%. Then Peter Jackson says it's one of the tomatoes. Tomato. And then Peter Jackson says one of the best films in years, and I'm like, well, who the fuck am I listening to right now? Who is the answer to
I saw that trailer. Qualm? I saw that trailer, and I thought,
oh, it looks so bad.
This is like Jupiter Ascending, only worse. And it feels like they're trying to make some other franchise launch type thing, but they targeted it towards like the tween demographic.
Yeah, because I think it's a novel to movie. Adaptation
and I'm
thing,
like,
right?
it's like trying to play on like the sci-fi part of like Jupiter Ascending and all that with like the Hunger Games, Divergent, or whatever the other franchise.
That's what it is, bro.
And I looked at it, and I'm like, this is gonna be a pile of steaming hot garbage. that you then microwave to get it to steam more.
I saw Rihanna and I checked the fuck out.
I'm like, I'm not watching this shit.
Because if you're a director and you think it's smart to grab Rihanna, it's either you are desperate to like tap into her 14-year-old female fan base, or you just have such a shitty ass budget and a script that you are just desperate to get Rihanna in your movie. All right, she's beautiful to look at, but man, I just can't take any. Has Rihanna been in any movie that's been good? I mean, usually that there's just this type of stink that has been attached to Rihanna, and it's not because of Rihanna. It's just typically the shitty. There's no good director that's gonna run out and ask Rihanna to be in their movie.
Not natural.
It's just not gonna do it. So
she doesn't have the range.
You know what I expect from this? I expect it to be not as bad as I think it is. I expect a couple of cool scenes and like a concept that could have worked with a bigger budget and a better director and actual actors. And it's just gonna fall short on so many things to the point where I'm like, I wasted my money. Like
I didn't even want to watch it.
Kayla saw the preview. She's like, that looks interesting. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it would to you. Like, but you're like the demographic they're going for. It's just not. It's not going to be for me. I already.
It looked like it was trying to be like high sci-fi for the mainstream, though, and I was just like, nope.
It looked like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Matrix.
It had no identity.
Child, and it was like it had an extra chromosome.
It looked like a shitty Fifth Element.
Exactly. It just looked bad. It looked like the Jupiter Ascending is like a perfect way to
describe
this crap.
It was so hyped and so bad.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
When Panic said Jupiter Ascending, I was like, oh my god, yes, because that movie, I saw that on TV and Gabs wanted to see it and we watched it and it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Like, that's not hyperbole. It was, honest to God, one of the worst movies I've ever watched. And that's perfect because this looks like it. Like, it wasn't even a spectacle. There was no real redeeming qualities.
It just looked very forced.
That movie. Everything was forced for sure. Okay. I have one TV related thing there that you guys can see. Do you have any other movie related stuff that happened?
No, I think that's pretty much it. We're almost at the 2-hour mark, so I think we're.
Yeah, we can just we'll have this little. This last one was really really a short thing. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. I will give a verbal warning. That's why I'm also putting this at the end. For anyone, the odds of there being a spoiler here that is tragic to somebody is basically zero. But if you're somebody for Game of Thrones that doesn't even want to hear the name Game of Thrones be uttered for the entire time that the season is running, now's the time to turn everything off, because after this we'll be wrapping up and moving on to side B. but I just wanted to talk
side B shit.
It's fire. It's fire. But I just wanted to talk and see what you guys thought of it, because there are more and more people. I didn't know that it was going to explode like this on the internet, but it did. It totally did. Ed Sheeran was on the Game of Thrones premiere. And when I was at Jeff's and we were watching this, and you hear this singing during the scene, and Jeff pipes up immediately and says, "That sounds like Ed Sheeran." And in my head, I went, "Fuck that. There's no way they put Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones." And sure as shit, 5 seconds later, there's Ed Sheeran singing on screen. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And not because I don't like Ed Sheeran. I think Ed Sheeran makes dope music. I think he's a super likable dude. He's another one of those puppies. Like, you throw him out there and he's just fucking Ed Sheeran. And he's like harmless, whatever. But it just seemed like it cheapened the episode for me. It seemed so forced. He was even in a singing role, for God's sake. Like, it almost felt like a shitty infomercial for Ed Sheeran. It was really weird. I mean, and it isn't because he acted poorly. I mean, he had like 4 sentences.
No. It broke the immersion.
From what I heard. The immersion was gone. Like, bad.
I mean, it's not like he acted horribly or anything. He
No.
did fine, but it was Ed Sheeran. Dude, I heard the voice, and even before I saw him, I said, "Is that Ed Sheeran?" And then boom, I see Ed Sheeran's face. I'm like, "What the fuck is Ed Sheeran doing in this?"
Seeing Rihanna in a movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know. I didn't like it either. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I wasn't like up in arms like some people were. Like they were going crazy about this. And the thing is Conor McGregor was supposed to be in this season as well, and he ended up refusing it for a fight. So I don't know what is up with them and bringing in these celebrities, these pop stars. They need to keep that shit away from this shit. Like that stuff works.
You have a quality TV show. You don't need star power.
Yeah, you just don't. Everyone's watching the show anyway. You know, we don't care about Ed Sheeran's newest album. Like, you know, we can find that anywhere else. Just keep it Game of Thrones, please. Thank you. That's it.
But it did. Internet went fucking bonkers over it. It was kind of crazy.
Well, rightfully so. I mean, it's a hardcore show for hardcore fans.
But they were going after Ed Sheeran over it. I was like, I mean, fucking come on now. It's not that, like we said, it's not that he acted poorly. He didn't really have the chance to act poorly. Like there was no real opportunity. You know, I even felt like, this is gonna sound weird, but I even felt like he did a good job about not moving too much when he was technically on camera but not supposed to. Like, he wasn't the one talking or whatever. You know, sometimes you'll get extras that are in the background of a shot and they're doing too much shit and it kind of like pulls your eye away from what the fuck is happening. He even managed to avoid that shit. Like, he literally, it's like he showed up for 5 minutes, sat down, did his fucking shtick, didn't move, zipped his lips. They handed him out the door, and the fucking show went on. And then people were like, "Oh my god, Ed Sheeran, boo-hoo," and went on to this fucking rampage. And coincidentally, he was going to be deleting his or shutting down his Twitter for a period of time for a totally different reason. And then people were like, "Oh my god, he shut off his Twitter because people are reaming him for Game of Thrones." And they went on this big friggin' like stink about that. To the point where the director from Game of Thrones came out and defended Ed Sheeran. I was like, what is even happening right now? What the fuck? Like, what are we doing? It was bad, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, come on now. But I would appreciate it if they, like you said, Jeff, we could just take all these. I appreciate that there are fans that are stars and that you want, you know, favors from them in the future. But don't fucking put them in your show so that you can get a favor from them later on. Be like, remember that time I put you on Game of Thrones? Now I want
you to come to my daughter's birthday party.
Yeah.
I need you to come to my kid's birthday party and sing some songs.
Yeah.
I need you to sing at my son's bar mitzvah. Yeah. So that was kind of silly. It was whatever. But yeah, that's all I get. That's all I've got for TV and movie stuff. You guys have anything else before we wrap this up?
That's it.
That's it. Beautiful. Well, gentlemen, at the 2-hour mark on the dot, which is kind of impressive for us, really. We're gonna end side A. Take a breather here on the live stream, but for those of you on iTunes or YouTube, you get to wait a couple days depending on when you're listening to this before you can hit up that side B action. Thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the continued support on iTunes with those reviews. Keep those coming if you haven't already.
Rating.
That's 5-star side A rating. Really appreciate it, guys. And props. I'm going to give props to YouTube before we head out for not turning in to Dunkirk in the comments section after last week's tech support. I fully expected like World War III
violence
in that shit, and it was dead. We've had more arguments over the dumbest shit, and that of all the ones for the comment section to be perfectly calm on, that was the one. I don't even know how to respond to that, but to say good fucking job. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not going to be able to catch us until the next part, thank you for listening once again. For those of you here on the live stream, we'll be back in a few minutes, but until we see you one way or another, peace.
Bye.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying Technical Alpha and are interested in